soon as we turned around, I heard like a woof.
And all of a sudden, wow, there's power lines down. And I look ahead and that's Demario's house in the middle of the road.
Of course, my mind goes to the worst imaginable thought is they're all dead, like they're gone.
It's like I just went into the spirit and everything was dark, and I just remember saying, Jesus, keep us. At 6:45 is when I started monitoring the tornado, and I saw how it was coming our way, and they were saying that it was supposed to touch down in our area here, Evening Shade, around 7:30.
We were monitoring the situation, the storm on our phones, and watching the radar, and Lori got an alert on her phone that said, imminent danger, seek shelter immediately. So I stepped outside and I heard the wind picking up.
Sister Elaine, she had got into our storage bin, our shipping container, which is what we were going to use for, for the storm.
And I turned around, went inside real quick, and I said, Lori, grab the baby, get the children, let's go. We're going. And so we quickly went outside and went into our shipping container that was about the safest place that we have.
So we got closer. It was around 7:25 now, and my wife and son were not home yet. I knew they were on their way, but they weren't home yet, and the phone was dead. So I couldn't call to see exactly where they were. So I'm out looking for them, trying to figure out, should I go and get them? Should I hop in the truck and just go and find them real quick? I know this is getting closer and closer to where this tornado is to touch down in our area. So I told Elaine, look, I gotta go and get them.
We meet Delbert as we're headed outside into the shipping container, and we tell him, hey, there's a possible tornado that's about to touch down. It's coming right at us.
Yeah, last Sunday night I was in my RV and I just went outside to check on the lightning. It was just all the way around us. And it was just woo, woo, woo. And I thought, man, I need to get a video of this. This is really cool. And I'm there trying to do a few pictures, and I look over at Matt and Lori's house and they're all coming out. And I says, oh, they're going to come and look at the lightning too. But they come on and walk on by and keep going. They don't even pay attention to the lightning. And they're saying, come on, let's go. And I'm, okay, what's going on? And he says, there's a tornado.
And as soon as I was getting ready to get into the truck, I saw my wife coming with the lights. So I saw the vehicle coming. So she pulled up real quick, and it's already windy by now. The wind is blowing, it's raining. I said, okay, let's go, get them into the shipping container.
I didn't know anything about it because they had said their phones went off, giving them a warning, and mine did not. And so I didn't know anything about it at all. I hadn't been keeping up with the weather. And anyway, so we all went in the storage container and shut the door, and Matt rigged it up so it was all tied. He tied the door shut and tied it to his generator that was sitting there.
And we get into the shelter, and everybody gets kind of in the back into a safe spot. And I couldn't get the door all the way closed, so I got a tow strap and tied it to a generator. And we're in there for a couple minutes, and all of a sudden, like, the wind picks up really violently, and it starts shaking the shipping container, and then like hail starts hitting and pelting the shipping container, and it's really loud and kind of noisy. And then all of a sudden, the door, boom, swings wide open, and I tell my wife and kids, get down right here, get down.
So she pulls up, and it's already windy, and the rain is coming down now, and so I tell her, okay, let's go, get in the shipping container. She goes and she grabs some paperwork and going inside the shipping container. And I see my neighbor, he's on his way. he and his 2 daughters, they're coming over to our place to get in the shipping container with us. So I got him in and help him and to get his children and he inside the container. So we get inside the container, and my wife was like, my paperwork, my documents, I need the documents. What happened was when she was going inside, the wind blew her, kind of knocked her over, and the paperwork came out of her hand. And so when we got inside, she was saying, I need my paperwork. So my neighbor and I, we said, well, we're gonna go and try to get it real quick. And we go toward the container door. After I had shut it, we go toward the door, and as soon as we go to the door, the wind just kind of blew the door open right in front of us.
We're back there, and the wind started kicking up and making noise, and all these bangs on the storage container. I didn't know if it was rocks or hail or just what it was. There was this horrible bang, 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 and the door swings open, and we're like, whoa, what was that? Anyway, we didn't move. And later, we went out and saw that the door had swung open from all that wind, and it jerked the generator outside the door and swung it around.
And we turned around to head back toward the back of the container. But as soon as we turned around, and all of this happened within seconds, I would say 15 seconds or so. As soon as we turned around, I heard like a woof, and we just started rolling. We just started flipping, and he and I, we're still near the door area. We start flipping. The container ends up flipping on 3 different sides. And
it was almost like just as soon as it started, it was over. It was so quick. It was almost instantaneously. It seemed like it was just a couple of seconds. And we wait for a little bit, and finally we come out, and it's like the most beautiful, calm evening. It was just like beautiful.
It was out of tune to me. I wasn't in tune with really what was happening on the outside. It's like I just went into the spirit, and everything was dark, and I just remember saying, Jesus, keep us. I was calm, and that's all I said, Jesus, keep us. And while I was saying that, I felt my body turning in like a rotation, like I'm in a dryer or something, like a dryer going clockwise. I was just turning and then stopped. And as soon as we stopped, like whatever I was under, and I was near like washing machine, dryers were kind of tumbling around me. I'm sure I got hit by all of that. As soon as I just got right up, and the first thought is my family. So I'm going to try to find everyone, making sure everyone is okay, my neighbor's okay. And thankfully, I started hearing them. The children were crying, and of course it's a traumatic situation, and so they're crying, so I'm making sure that they're fine. And I find out everyone is fine, and I'm thankful. We had to, unbury some that were kind of buried underneath some of the things that we had in the container. And the container was full of stuff, which actually ended up helping us because it served as some cushion.
We get out, and I'm thinking, I gotta need to call Demario. So I pick up my phone, and I call Demario. He didn't answer, and so I'm talking to Delbert. And we decided, well, I'll go inside and get the kids inside, and he should go down and check up on Demario.
So I hopped in my car and went down the road about a mile and just cruising. And all of a sudden, wow, there's power lines down. And I look ahead, and that's Demario's house in the middle of the road.
So anyhow, once we find out everyone is still living, and they have some bruises and some cuts, and people are complaining about pain and things like that, but everyone is still living. So my neighbor, he goes outside first, and he thought he broke his arm because he couldn't move it. So he's able to manage to open up the door, and he climbs out the door, and he's outside, and he says, oh, it looks like we're in some woods, because he couldn't tell where we were. He said, it looks like we're in some woods. And then about 10 seconds later, he said, oh, we're over here by your well house. And then he was quiet again. And I guess he must have walked around and looked a little bit more. Then he just said, about a minute later, he says, oh, your house is gone. And when he said that, I said, whoa. I just imagine, because I was still inside the container helping everybody to try to get out and stay calm, because everyone was frantic, and I was, saying, be calm, okay, we're still living, but I'm thinking like, whoa, the house is gone. And sure enough, by the time we all got out of the container, I looked over to the area where the house, our cabin, normally was, and I didn't see anything but bricks. And I was like, whoa, it's like it just disappeared. Like no wood or anything. I didn't see anything but bricks. So, of course, eventually I find out that all the rubbish, was all over the road. Everything just scattered everywhere. But I was thankful that our lives were preserved.
So I just slammed on the brakes, called up Matt. Matt, get down here now and call 911.
He takes off in his car, and we go inside, and a couple minutes later I get a phone call, and he said, call 911 and get down here immediately. Instantly, like my heart sank, and my mind is racing like, oh no, what is going on? So I tell Lori, call 911, and I'm like out the door, and I jump in my car, and I'm race out my driveway, and I'm racing down the road. It's maybe like a 2-3 minute drive, and I don't know what to expect. I don't know what I'm going to see there. Had no clue, no idea.
I don't know how to even describe it. It was just, it wasn't like, I don't know what it was. I've never experienced anything quite like it. I wasn't scared. I wasn't anything. It was just like this horrible feeling. And like, they were probably in that house. They were probably mush. They would have been mush. That house was just tore. It was nothing. It was just a wreckage. I mean, actually, part of the house was on the power line. It hit the power line and was holding it down at about 5 feet high off the ground. I just thought it might be just bodies everywhere. I didn't know.
So eventually we were kind of standing right here in this area, and we saw some lights coming. First time we saw lights coming in, and something said in my mind that that's probably Matt or somebody coming down here. So we saw lights, and the car came around and came close to us, and we saw that it was Delbert.
And there's a service road there to the right. I turned in there and went around to the front of their house, and there they were. What a relief. Oh, what a relief. They had just crawled out of their storage container.
And then not too long after that, I see some other lights coming. I didn't know it was Matt at the time. And I kind of see some lights coming down fast, and then I see nothing.
As I crest the hill and start to come down toward their place, I'm flying, and all of a sudden I see a downed power line and just all this rubbish and debris everywhere. I slam on the brakes and I swerve so I don't hit the power line. I go off into the ditch, and it's like when I saw that, the only thing I could think of was, oh God. And it was just there was just like a feeling, a nasty feeling in the pit of my stomach. Of course, my mind goes to the worst imaginable thought is they're all dead. Like they're gone. They're dead. They're severely injured.
And then I start seeing a little light moving around. So anyway, it was Matt with his flashlight. I guess he didn't know what happened.
Anyways, I jump out of the car and I grab the flashlight, and I'm running and I'm yelling, Delbert, Delbert, I'm running. Delbert, and I run around the corner not knowing what I was gonna find, and I see a flashlight waving, and I'm just sprinting.
And so I saw him running around coming this way with his flashlight, and as soon as I saw him, I had my flashlight and I flashed it toward him, and I said, hey, we're here, we're all here, and we're fine.
And it's Demario, and he says, hey, we're all here, everybody's okay, we're okay, everybody's all right. And when I heard that and the realization came to me that they were safe, it was like a burden just lifted off of me, and I just, almost like sunk down.
And when he got close to us, he just fell to his knees, and was just like you could just see it like a burden lifted off of him. He was like, oh. And you can hear like the crying in his voice, and it's just like relieved that we're okay. I'm sure, especially after seeing what he saw coming down that road.
Just kind of tears started coming, and I gave Demario a hug. I didn't know how badly he was injured or anything, but he was walking around, so he was fine. So I just grabbed him like, man, brother. Oh, brother, I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful you guys are okay.
So Caleb, our neighbor, who thought his arm was broken, what happened was when we got out of the container, he got his 2 daughters, got in his truck, said, I need to get them to the hospital. So he left, and on his way out, he was running into some trees. There was trees all in the road. So he's running into some trees trying to go toward the hospital. So he ended up having to take out a chainsaw to cut up some trees to get him out of the way so he can move. And while doing that, he actually pops his shoulder back in place, and he was feeling fine. So he was doing that, and what he actually ended up doing was taking his daughters to someone else and giving her the care over to them to give to the mother to make sure that they get to the hospital. And Caleb actually came back to check on us and to be with us, and he also was instrumental in helping the first responders to get to our place, because the first responders, they couldn't make it because of all the trees that were down on the ground. So he had to go and get the first responders, put them in his truck, and drive them down here to us, to where we were. And when we saw his truck coming, I said that there's Caleb coming back here. And he had the first responders with him. And that was a huge blessing. Having him with us was a huge blessing. He was very instrumental. It was very God ordained.
Demario and Elaine were in a lot of back pain, and so Demario was just sitting in the car, and Elaine then went up to Mount Laurie's to stay there, and then the ambulance finally got through about an hour later.
In the next hour or so, I guess about an hour later, the ambulance arrived. And in that time, so many people are just coming from around the neighborhood and from around the community. I guess they had heard that this part had been hit the hardest. So they're just pulling up, everybody okay? Is everybody all right? And people were coming with chainsaws, and just it was really neat to see that. Just really wanting to make sure that everybody is okay and safe, and wanting to help. So the ambulance came, and they took Demario and Elaine to the hospital. They wanted to make sure that they didn't have any internal bleeding.
Yeah, the fire department people were great. They were so nice, so helpful. So it's like they're your best friend, your next door neighbor. They're just to see how things are going. And they know something you don't know, so they're there to help. It was just really cool.
But it was so overwhelming to see the response of the community from this event. Just the night of the tornado, when responders started coming in, people just started coming back to back, because it's like this area here was, I guess it was being reported as the most hard hit, the place that was hit the hardest. This was a place where injuries were being reported from. So we had so many people just started coming here from different towns. We had responders from Zion, from Sydney, from different towns just coming in. The mayor himself came out, and he was telling me later that he had to get a chainsaw out, start cutting trees down, cutting trees out of the road so that EMS and others can get through. Just a phenomenal response from the community.
The next day we went down there to see what we could do. And it's like, where do you start? It's like, what a mess. It's like, everything's everywhere. And it wasn't just in a nice little neat area right around their house. It was across the road, up the hill, and it was a mess. It's just stuff everywhere. All the insulation, the peak insulation was across the street, stuck up in the trees, all these little pieces everywhere.
The next day we went down to assess the damage and to see, what all the damage was. And we got there, And it's like, how do you, where do you even start? Where do you even start to clean up? Where do you even start to rebuild? And, we're kind of piddling around, going through some of the rubbish for a little while, and then people just started showing up to help. People were bringing chainsaws, people were bringing, their kids, and everybody just kind of got to work.
I'm new to the area, so I don't really know hardly anybody around here, but people came out of the woodwork. It's like, where'd you guys come from? And who are you guys?
But it was amazing to see just people from the community, people from outside of our faith, people from our local church, just come and want to help, and just to come to start cleaning everything up, and it was really amazing. Young people, children, carrying stuff, getting debris and putting it in burn piles and putting stuff back into the shipping container. One guy that we know, Brent, came with a backhoe and was cleaning things up, and it was really amazing to see, that come together in the community.
They were there till after dark, everyone, with their kids, these young people, and of course I was exhausted, my back and this, whatnot, but they didn't seem to mind at all. It was almost like they enjoyed it, just helping each other. And I was so impressed with the kids in particular, because usually you have to beg them to want to work, but they seemed to really enjoy helping. That was very moving for me, and just the fact that there were so many people that did show up. And then they weren't of the same belief system that we have, and it didn't matter. Yeah, people in need. Well, and I was thinking about it this morning, it reminds me of the experience of Job a little bit. Because he had his kids were all in his oldest son's house, and the great wind came up and blew down the house, and people were killed. And you think, well, where's God? Well, we read the story. We have inside story on that. And, it's not God, it's the devil. And God allows the devil to do evil things sometimes. And we don't understand all of that. Sometimes it might be to test our characters, or it might be to reveal something to the unbelievers of how people that love the Lord react in tough times. We just don't know. We don't know the blessings that are going to come from this.
The thing that really has inspired me and really gave me a deeper appreciation through all of this is Demario's, his attitude and his spirit. It's just been positive the whole time. Like, even in the midst of suffering and losing everything.
I thought about it. It's like the devil had his missile right aimed at their house and was going to take these people out.
I could just see that this guy is a man of faith. He's a man of faith, because not once throughout the next couple days did I hear any word of discouragement, any word of doubt, of worry, anything like that. It's just all been positive, and just trusting in the Lord, not knowing why this is happening, but just knowing that God has a plan and a purpose, and He allowed this to happen for a reason, and that He's going to make something good out of this terrible situation.
It's exciting to me. Actually, some of this, I don't want to look at it as something a bad thing happening to Demario and Hassan, and somehow get pleasure in that. No, I'm saying that it's exciting to see how they respond to disasters in their life. They're very positive. Of course you have tears. It's your stuff, and it helps us realize that maybe I need to downsize and not have so much, so that when a disaster hits me, it won't be a big mess. Because, it's coming. There's a disaster coming for all of us in some way or another.
I guess it's really a wake-up call for me, and I think for everybody, that, there's a storm coming. This world is falling apart. And in 2 Peter 3:10 it says, the day of the Lord comes as a thief in the night, in which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. All the earth and the works therein shall be burned up. There's some troublous times ahead. There's a storm coming, and all of this stuff that they lost can be replaced. But thank God their family is alive. But it really puts things into perspective, because we weren't expecting this. We never in a million years thought something like this would happen. But it did, and largely I would say that we were unprepared, and it just happened almost in an instant. And to me, it's really telling me that we need to be prepared. We need to have our hearts right with the Lord. We need to get our house in order. We need to keep our families in order, and we need to have our hearts in the right place and be prepared for what's coming, because troublous times are coming, and it's going to test the faith of every single person. And I just pray that when that time comes, that we will be found faithful.
Just start flipping, and I don't know how it happened after that. It was just dark, couldn't see anything, but I was right here, and when I got up, I was on this side of it, so I got up, came around, and started going back there, trying to find everybody. Everybody's about right there, somewhere down there. Caleb was about right here, and yeah. Whew. Man. We heard the glass. I did hear glass. Glass. I tell you. Wow.